I finally figured out why I had been so frustrated. So I wasn't treating AI the way it should be treated, which was as a smart research assistant. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to have your very first AI conversation using this actual death certificate from my family tree. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to say to AI and what to do when things don't go as planned. Let me set some realistic expectations. Your first AI conversation might feel awkward. For me, it felt like talking to Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. Remember Rosie the robot? She was smart, she was sassy, and it was really weird to imagine talking to Rosie. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover how to start the conversation without feeling silly, the magic phrases to use so the conversation gets better and better, what to do when AI gives information that seems wrong, or it actually is wrong. And lastly, how to keep the conversation going productively. I'm going to be using ChatGPT for this demo because it's free and it's really beginner friendly, but these conversation techniques work with any AI tool. It's time to meet Frances Streebig. She is one of 7 children of my great-grandparents, and her death certificate has a ton of mysteries for me. This document has been sitting in my files for 2 years because I kept getting stuck on the same questions. Her maiden name is Streebig, and on her death certificate, she's listed as Streebig, also has been widowed, and do have proof that she was married. So why is her maiden name on this death certificate? Then the cause of death is written in this awful blue ink, and some of the terminology here I don't understand, and I can't even make out every word. Then the location where she was living, I can't find it on modern maps. I want to know more about her life, so I need to know where to go next with this research. This is a perfect conversation for AI, so let's see how it goes. Here we are with ChatGPT open on the right-hand side and our death certificate for Frances Streebig on the left. This version of ChatGPT is a new account for me. It's a free account. It's using the base model with ChatGPT, so there's nothing fancy going on here. It's your first time using ChatGPT. This is exactly what it will look like and how the conversation will go. So one of my classic mistakes I made was just doing a very basic question. What can you tell me about this death certificate? AI smartly comes back and says, you need basically to upload this death certificate in order for me to show it. So to upload something, you just click on this plus sign and then pick the file or the photo. So here is the death certificate, which is the one over here. I uploaded it. And then I said, transcribe this death certificate. Now again, this is another beginner mistake. I didn't really give it any direction about how to do transcription. I just made an assumption that it knew what I meant by transcribe. Might have unpredictable results, but let's see how it does. Now, I was honestly impressed by what it came back with, because it read this death certificate from top to bottom, even the stamped parts up here in the corners, and it seemed to follow along with each box here. So here's box 1, box 2, box 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it's right here that I note that there's a mistake with the date of birth, because I can see here it's 1868, and with the age it says 69, and right here it clearly says 84. So this makes me think, maybe I can't trust AI, but I'm going to withhold my judgment here and just assume that it made an error. That doesn't mean everything that it told me is bad, and just keep going. So we got box 10, and then it skipped 12 where it says USA, but it did go to 13, 14, 15, 16, social security number, 17. It gave the name here for the informant, cause of death. This is one of my questions. It came up with these, which on first glance don't look to be the same because it says cerebral here and then drug gangrene of both feet. And I see something that looks like begins with a U and then left foot. So we're going to get into this in a second. And then major findings, it doesn't seem to have anything here. So it keeps going down to 23, the doctor's information, the burial information, and the registrar. Honestly, was really impressed with this this transcription. So now I'm going to give it some context about who I am and what I'm trying to do with this death certificate. So I just tell it here, I'm a genealogy researcher and I'm trying to understand some of the details on this death certificate. The location mentioned for 2 usual place of residence, I read as Roosevelt Boulevard, and I put in parentheses, illegible, circle. Can you look at that writing again and give me 10 possible words it could be? AI comes back and gives me 10 options. Now, for this part right here, I see P-E-N-N, and it sure looks like a Y. And then I think penny back, but there's no penny back in, it says circle here, in Philadelphia. So I've got the circle and I got the P-E-N-N. So it comes back with Pennsylvania Circle, Penrose, Pennington, Penview, Penwood, Penland, Penhurst. It's got all these words. None of those seem to look like pennyback. So it gives me what its conclusion is. And I say, well, that could be helpful to check a map, but I think the name is Pennyback Circle, but on current maps, there's only a Pennyback Street. So I just pushed back against AI and told it what I thought. It came to me with a really definitive conclusion, right, of what it thought it was. And I used my brain and said, I don't think that's it. And my problem isn't that I can't read the address, because I kind of can. The problem is it doesn't match, really. So it pulls up 4 historical maps now and has examined them. And the term you read as Pennyback Circle is almost certainly Pennyback Circle, it tells me. Or Pennypack Circle, not Pennyback. Here's the evidence. And then it walks through right here, and each one of these circles here is a citation. So I can click on these and get more information from those web pages. So for instance, this one is a photo. Wikimedia Commons, which is part of Wikipedia, actually has a photograph of this Baptist home where Francis died at the exact address. I know, right? It's so great. So the clarification here, it goes into and then comes to a new conclusion. And it asks me a question. If you like, I can confirm the exact address. And I'm like, yes, please. So it goes ahead and pulls up, in fact, a postcard image of the Baptist home. Now, how fantastic is that to add into family history? It then provides this cross-check summary. The handwritten text versus the street address versus the landmark information and versus the street today. So this answers my question and helps me with my research. And I can go back and double check all these steps and not just assume that AI is correct, because I don't want to assume anything is correct when it comes at me. You know, whether it's a website or another individual giving me this information, I always want to double check it. Okay, let me pause right here and show you what's happening. Good AI conversations follow a pattern. First, they start broad. You start with a question like, help me understand this document. Then they get specific. We focus on particular sections in the document and take it piece by piece. Then we ask follow-ups. What does this medical term mean? What exactly is that street address? And then the last thing is we request next steps. What records should I look for next? Now let's go back for more conversation with AI. So now I tell it, I want to move on to box 8, the date of birth, and box 9, the age. I want to push back at this point for the math that it did and the reading that it did on date of birth for Francis and the age, which was like way off. I ask it to double check. So it goes through and actually does the math for me here. Date of death, date of birth. This is very funny. It says, although earlier we had it at 1881. It was like, there's no we here, AI. It was you, not we. It does the math and comes up with 84 years, 4 months, and 9 days. This is wonderful. So let's move on to the cause of death in box 18. So this was one of my major research hangups. This family, a lot of the family members died of really strange things. In terms of writing family history, I want to take into account all of this. And I ask it to do a transcription of what's there and tell me what 450.1 means. So it goes through and does this reading and it basically repeats what it told me before, but I know that that's not right. For the 450.1 tells me it's an ICD code for the International Classification of Diseases, and it knows to go back to the historical ICD code documents in order to pull up the right code. So it actually looks up the codes. And again, I want to verify this, but it sure as heck looks like it's correct, but it could be lying to me. But, we'll give it some slack here and look it up later. I pushed back against AI at this point and said, I would like that I read the cause of death as being a word that begins with UR, and then I see the word left in front of the word foot. I'd like you to forget what you transcribed before and read it again letter by letter. Now, just note here the very specific directions I gave AI. I told it to forget what it had transcribed before, read it again letter by letter. So it comes back and uremia and dry gangrene of left foot. When I go back to this awful blue pen, I see uremia and dry gangrene of left foot. Now that it typed it, I can see it. I'm like, yes, it does say that. Okay, I agree. I push back with it again and say that I see the word senility and a word that begins with ART. Now you'll note every time I correct it, I put it in quotes so that I distinguish it from the rest of the words around it so that it's clear transcribing here for AI or being, I want to be clear with it. So it goes through, looks like it's spelling out the word one letter at a time. So it then summarizes all its conclusions again, which is really helpful, keeps us aligned. I know what it's talking about and it knows what I'm talking about. So now we're going to move on to the question about her maiden name. On her death certificate with her maiden name, when she had been married and widowed, all the possible reasons is what I ask AI. It gives me 10. She reverted to her maiden name when she was widowed. Institutional practice. Never formally changed her name. Maybe she had a second marriage. Maybe the informant made the choice. Maybe it was her social identity versus her legal one. Maybe she was widowed for so long she just started to use her maiden name to be associated with her family. So those are some good ideas. So then I sum up this whole conversation. I want to kind of wrap it up and just make sure I'm not lost. Based on everything in this death certificate, where should I go next to learn more about Frances's life? And it goes through a check-by-check list. It summarizes everything that I know, which I can copy and paste into my research notes. So I thought this was just fantastic. So let's just recap the key lessons that we learned in this conversation with AI. First, always introduce yourself and give some context. I'm researching my family tree gives a better result than just starting with a random question. A broad context of you and your goals really helps artificial intelligence. Second, be specific about what you need help with. Help me read these parents' names works better than help me with this document. AI doesn't know what help means or what part of the document to focus on. Third, ask follow-up questions of AI. Conversations with AI better and better the longer they go on. And if you keep the questions open-ended, such as what does this medical term mean and what are the possible reasons that this event happened, then you're going to get a higher quality answer. And last, always ask, what should I research next in priority order? AI is great at giving you ideas for research plans. And here's the most important thing. Don't be afraid to correct the AI or ask it to clarify. It's not going to get offended, and the back and forth between you and it actually helps you test your own assumptions about the records that you're researching. So my challenge to you is to pick one document from your pile of research and have a conversation with AI about it. Just use this framework that I show you and don't worry about it being a perfect conversation. The goal is to practice having the conversation and not try to make a big research breakthrough all in one day. And if you want to see more examples of these conversations with AI, including the exact prompts I use, check out the Chronicle Makers Research Lab. It's in the link below. It's a community where genealogists and family historians meet to discuss AI, and I have an entire course in there walking you through 10 workflows to make your research better. Your ancestor stories are waiting to be discovered, and sometimes you just need to have the right conversation partner to help you find them.